These are the 5 stages that your ex goes through after breaking up with you. And I have come to these 5 stages after the work that I do helping men move through heartbreak and through tough breakups. And I have my own story of going through heartbreak, and I've experienced the other side of these, but also in my work, I have come across these stages over and over again with the men that I help. And oftentimes what happens is that the breakup for them seems to come out of nowhere. And this is a very, very common thing with the guys that I work with. And what happens is after the breakup happens, there are these few weeks, sometimes months, where everything feels so chaotic. They are feeling everything all at once. Sometimes they are feeling numb and feeling nothing at all. And there is this whirlwind happening of these questions that are on loops that are feeling overwhelming, wanting to know what he did wrong or trying to figure out what it is that he could have done better. And he's trying to keep it all together. And at some point, right, whether it is between projects at work, during breaks at work, or maybe it happens between sets at the gym, whatever is happening, ultimately he comes to this same question. And it's this question of wondering, is she hurting just as much as I am? And the answer to this question depends on 2 things. The first one is if you have been in contact with your ex-partner since the separation. And the second thing is how long it has been since the breakup. And following these stages, or the stages that I'm about to explain, only really applies if you have been no contact with your ex. Because a breakup is kind of like a wound, and oftentimes I describe it as a wound. And every time you are in contact with this person, that wound reopens and it doesn't give it a chance to heal. And so every time this wound reopens, these stages kind of get a bit messy. So the following stages only apply pretty much if you have gone no contact with your ex. These are the 5 stages that they will inevitably go through. And the first stage I want to explain to you with a story. And it reminds me of a time when me and my brother went to this massive university pool. And at the pool, they had a full competition set up for diving. So all of the boards, all of the platforms. And what they had was a 10-meter platform, which is something that me and my brother had never, ever experienced. And as soon as we saw it, we're like, oh my gosh, we want to jump off of this thing. And so we made our way to the top, and as we got up there and we got higher and higher and higher, the nerves started building more and more and more. And by the time we got up there, we were both like shaking with adrenaline. And we slowly walked up to the edge, looked over, realized how high it was, and it looked so much higher from at the top of this platform than it did standing on the ground. So we retreated back. Oh my gosh, we want to do this. Oh my gosh. And we would make our way to the edge, decide we're going to jump, and then at the last minute decide, oh no, we're not going to. And we did this multiple times before we got the courage to finally jump off. And when I remember still jumping off of this platform and hitting the water for the first time, coming up to take this first breath, and it was just like filled with exhilaration, so much excitement. Oh my God, we did it, I did it, wow. And I was so just like amped up. And I'm sharing this story because this is likely what is happening to your ex. And the first stage that your ex usually goes through is the relief stage. Because likely for them, they have been going back and forth on this decision to end the relationship for weeks, months, sometimes multiple months. And so, they'll oftentimes be like, oh, this is the day I'm going to do it. And then they might have a wonderful day with you and decide, okay, no, I'm not gonna end this relationship now. Sometimes they might, be right on the verge of doing it, and then they have their own issues come up and they decide not to do it. But when they do finally make that decision to end the relationship, they have a massive wave of relief, right? And so when they have this huge wave of relief, you are not you, but they are going to experience this relief. And so if you are still in contact, if you are still following them, or you might hear through the grapevine, right? This is the stage where they are going out more often. They are taking trips. They are sharing how happy they are over social media. And in this stage, they are probably not communicating with you at all. They probably have zero desire to reach out and talk with you because they just made this huge decision and they're riding this wave of exhilaration. And that brings us to stage 2. So after they have gone through this whole stage, that brings them to stage 2, which is curiosity. And in this stage, they are starting to see everything more clearly now, right? This wave of adrenaline of finally making this decision, of finally jumping, has worn off. And so they're starting to see things a bit more clearly. And so this is where, if you haven't reached out and you haven't been in contact, this is where they start to wondering what you have been up to this whole time. They might also have some subconscious pride about where you are, right? And they might be feeling a bit superior, right? Because they are the ones that ended this relationship. And so they want to, at this stage, this is where they start to want to know why you have gone silent and why you aren't reaching out. And so this is when they turn into detectives. And they start wondering if you are dating anyone else. They are starting to wonder if you're still in pain. This is where you might see them start watching your stories on Instagram or on social media. You might hear about them reaching out to your friends and family, wondering how you're doing, wondering what you're doing, wondering where you are, wondering if everything's okay. You might notice that they are starting to, block or unblock you. And so after this stage, if you continue on with no contact, they then go into stage 3, which is what I call concern. Right? And so if you have managed to stay no contact, this is where you are starting to feel a bit better of about the situation. Maybe you are starting to feel a bit more in control of your life again, and you are starting to have glimmers of hope that life will go back to normal. And this really depends on how much work it is that you have been doing to heal and regulate your own nervous system during this time, and making sure that you aren't waiting for time to heal your wounds, but are doing intentional work. And as a note, right, this is the work that I love to do with men. So if you find yourself in a place where you are dead set on doing the work, not just waiting for time to heal your wounds, but you want to do the intentional work to come back from this breakup even better than you were before, then I invite you to take a look in the description below. There's a link there for how we can work together and go deeper on this so that you can move through this breakup more quickly, more efficiently, and in the best way possible. But anyway, back to the stages, right? They are in this stage of concern, and they might be wondering, right, if they could even get back together with you at this point. So before this stage, they probably thought that I could just send them a text message and we would get back together immediately, right? At this stage, they are starting to wonder if that's even a possibility anymore. They're starting to wonder if they made the right decision in ending the relationship. At this stage, they are starting to replay old memories. They are starting to feel the pain that you've been experiencing this whole time. They might be even going so far as liking your posts. They might be more consistently watching your story. And they might even be, posting like sad song lyrics or sad quotes, all in this stage of like wondering if they made the right choice. And so after this stage comes stage 4, which is when they might reach out to you, right? They are feeling super uncertain, and they are, wanting to test what it would be like to have you in their life again. And so they are ultimately, this is a very, very sensitive spot for them, right? Because they ended the relationship, their biggest fear is now rejection, right? So when they are in this stage, if they do reach out to you, they are probably going to do it in a very, very indirect way, right? So they might ask you a question that they already know the answer to. They might ask you a question that is easily Googleable to find out the answer. And so these questions are, how is your dog doing? Or how is your cat doing? Or whatever. How is your mom doing? How is your brother doing? These types of questions. They might ask like, oh, what was the name of that restaurant that we went to when we were in wherever? Did I leave my sweater at your house? I haven't been able to find it. These types of things. And so what is the best way to handle this situation? And I think it's very, very important to remember, right, that you are the prize. You have always been the prize. You have always been worthy of love. Right? And you are also kind. So depending on your own healing journey and how grounded you are feeling, how safe you are feeling, how regulated you are feeling in your own nervous system, really sets the stage for the final stage that your ex might go through, which is the meetup. Right? So if they reach out to you and you haven't done any intentional work and you are still like waiting and hoping and praying, right? When they reach out, you might jump at that opportunity and give back all of this intense energy, all of this like, oh, finally, pick me, or I've been waiting for this, right? And so depending on where you are in your own journey, you might scare them, right? And they might have the realization of like, oh yeah, I made the right decision, and ghost again. Or they might go to stage 5, which is the meetup. And so how are you going to handle this? Again, this is such a great time to reflect on how you are doing on your own personal healing journey. And in an ideal world, if your ex reaches out to you to meet up in person, you are able to handle that from a place of calmness, from a place of relaxation, from a place of feeling rooted in yourself. And this takes work. It takes work to do the work to move through a heartbreak, to not distract with things like the gym, with going on dates super quick, but to actually be with the pain that this heartbreak has brought up inside of you. And if you are intentional in this work, it is possible for you to be at a place where when your ex reaches out to meet up again, you are unaffected, right? You're not sad, you're not excited. You have gone on living your life and are doing your best to make the most of this short time that you have here on earth. So if you have done that work, right, this is a very, very powerful time to reflect back on that and see what is happening internally when your ex reaches out to meet up with you again. And now there's no wrong or right answer on whether you do meet up with them or not. But in my experience, the more regulated you can be, the more calm and grounded you can be when you make that decision. Right? The metaphor I often use is a breakup is like getting hit in the face. Right? And if you have been a smart fighter and have taken the time to put space so that you can ground and make the best possible decision on whether it is a good idea to meet up with them or not, this oftentimes leads to the best results. If you haven't been intentional with your work and you, as soon as your ex reaches out and you feel all amped up again, this is either going to throw you back into having to do more healing work and notice and politely decline, or you can notice like, oh, actually, I'm feeling really good. I'm feeling really grounded. This, I am interested in meeting up with this person to see, what the future of our relationship looks like. That might just be platonic. That might be even just meeting up with them, feeling what it's like and realizing like, oh, no, like I honestly wish you the best. But the key here is making that decision from a place of groundedness, from a place of safety, not from a place of activation. Because I guarantee when they reach out to you, that is again going to potentially bring up some things. And do you have the tools and the resources to be able to bring yourself back down to calm so that you can reply in a way that feels aligned with who you are now, with reply to honestly, do you want to meet up with this person and see if having them in your life is a good idea? Is it beneficial? Does it bring joy and excitement to your life? Or does it not? And so these are the 5 stages of that your ex will go through after they've broken up with you. And if you are someone who wants to be in this space where when your ex reaches out to you at stage 5, or even at stage 4, and wants to meet up in stage 5, if you want to be the type of man that can handle that from a place of groundedness, from a place of relaxation, from a place of safety, then I invite you again to check out the link below in the description of this video so that we can work together deeper. This is what I love to do. How do we move through the breakup in the most healthy, most efficient way so that you can get back to yourself, so that you can focus on living the best life possible? So if that's you, I invite you to check out that link and we will be in touch. Thank you so much, fellow explorer, for being here. And I know this is a tender time as you're going through this breakup, but I know that you can move through it.